I didn't. So that was my fault. That's why. And I didn't realize it till afterwards. And I was like, man, I can't believe I did that.
Oh, it's
So,
all
hey,
good.
thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, happy New Year. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Yes,
Good.
new beginning.
How's your holiday?
It was good. Everything was great. And I enjoyed time with family, missing some of the family, I think, as many people are. But it was family and loved ones. How was yours?
It was pretty good actually. It was quiet, with the quarantine and everything going on. It was different. It was definitely different, but I'm glad it's over, and I hope the holidays for the coming year is a lot better. So
I think it will be. I definitely do. I think just times are, I'm not saying COVID is going away. I know so many people are like, 2021, no COVID. And I'm like, it's still here, still present. But I do think that we're making some movements in the, hopefully, a positive direction as it relates to that. So
me too, me too. So with that being said, for those coming on, we're just gonna go ahead and kick off the show here. So hey everybody, my name is Camille Essick, and I'm the host of the Speaker Podcast. First of all, I want to say thank you so much and happy 2021. We are kicking off season 7 here, and I had to bring back a friend of the show. She's like a little sister to me. I love her to death, to life. Her name is Alesia Jones, and she's the founder and creator of Mind Your Health there in my hometown, Nashville, Tennessee. Shout out to the Titans. I think they won the AFC.
they did.
So,
barely.
Barely. But they got it. So
They did. They pulled through.
Yeah, so congrats to them. And Alicia, those that are not familiar with the brand, let everyone know about Mind Your Health.
Okay, Mind Your Health, yes, as she was saying before, it is a mental health agency organization that is here to not only educate but also provide support to people who are looking to further their, whether it be their information or their connection to mental health services. So one of the main things that mental health offers, or excuse me, Mind Your Health offers right now is a connection to counseling. So if you are in the midst of like, hey, I'm ready to get started on a new path, or I'm ready to kind of make some changes in my life, and that consists of therapy, but you don't know where to start, I have a small consultation service that offers you support. So you would answer some questions, and then after you answer those questions about the therapist that you'd like, what my hope is to give you a list of therapists that meet that criteria. So hopefully you can get started on your therapy journey for the future.
Awesome. And for those, Alicia, that would like those services, can you let the listeners and your viewers know where they can contact you? And then we're going to also repeat the information at the end of the show as well.
Yeah. So I am on Instagram at mindyourhealth_. I'm also on Facebook at Mind Your Health. And you can contact me, you can DM me or send me a private or personal message, or if you just want to comment under a post, however you want to reach out, just know you go to those pages, Mind Your Health or Mind Your Health_ on Instagram, and you will find me there.
Awesome. So as we go into the new year, a lot of people are always making resolutions, whether it's lose weight or stop smoking or drinking, etc. But what about investing in themselves just personally? So going into the year where people are planning for finances and health, well, first of all, can you define what is self-investment in a self-care plan, and what people can do as a plan for their mental health and wellness going into the new year?
Yeah, I love to define self-care. I think that's one of my favorite things to do as like a mental health specialist. So self-care is just a form of you, or some actions that you do to kind of make yourself feel better. It's kind of related to your healthiness, how you feel, how your emotions are feeling that day. And I do like to point out the difference between self-care and also self-investment.
Mm-hmm.
When we think of self-investment, I know a lot of us are getting into stocks and all that good stuff now, but when we think about investments, a self-investment is more so like what you're pouring into yourself right now in order to accomplish whatever your greater goal is. So if you know in the future you want to be an attorney, then right now you may be in law school, or you may be studying for the bar, or you may be going through those steps to accomplish that, and that's a form of self-investment or self-investment. But when we think of self-care, those are actually soothing or self-care activities that you can do that can help you with your day, help you respond to stressful situations, help you respond when you're kind of feeling a little icky, or sometimes just uplift you.
Mm-hmm. And then, so when they're creating those plans, what are some things, or where can people go first? Like, what is the first step in creating the self-investment plan in their total plan for self-care?
So when you think of self-care, one, it is a habit. So you have to form a new habit. A lot of times when we think of self-care activities, we're like, I ain't finna do that, or I'll do it maybe one good week or 2 weeks, and then you may kind of fall off because it's not something that you're used to. So the first thing I always tell people or encourage people to do is make sure you're making it a habit or it becomes a part of your routine. So I have a little activity that I want to show y'all really quick that I think is beneficial for me, and then hopefully it can be beneficial for you. So one day, if you're feeling good and you're like, oh, I just want I want to think about self-care. So what I would suggest is you get a kind of sheet of paper. You can type this, you can write it, whatever you like to do. Just write down a list. And if you were to Google, and you can reach out to me and I can give you a list too. But there are all different types of suggestions on Google for self-care activities. But you write down your list of activities and then you cut them up. And I like to put mine in a mason jar. I had a cute little gold mason jar that I spray painted and I could not find it. But anyways, we have this one for now. So you can cut up all your self-care activities. You can put them in this mason jar. So let's just say one day you are feeling a bit overwhelmed or you're feeling a bit stressed. You can go to this mason jar and you can pick out one of those self-care activities. And the reason that I love doing this in advance, like before you're feeling stressed or before you're feeling a little, concerned and not feeling the best, is because it's already done. You don't have to go research, because then we know how we can do sometimes when we're not feeling good. We ain't feeling the best. It can be harder for us to go to research and then to actually do the activity. So these are already pre-planned things. Okay. So here I am shaking up my jar. And this one says, play a game you enjoy. So think of a game, whether it be on your phone or if you can play it with a partner or somebody, play a game. And if you don't like this one for today because you're just a little bit in a funk, just, you can choose another one, put that one back in there. And this one says, treat yourself to a massage. So if you can do it that day, yes, call the massage people. Get it set up. So yeah, facial. A facial. Yeah, we were talking about that. So these are just small things that you can do that kind of are considered self-care activities. Okay. And if you're, in the midst of looking for something, get you a jar, put you some ideas in there, and pull them out when you need them.
That's really good. I like that. What are other things people can do outside of that? I know, like for myself, I'm big on self-care. Like, we talked about before, doing a facial or maybe like a hot bath, tea, watching your favorite movie, exercise. So what are some of the things you like to do, Alesia, that you incorporate into your self-investment plan?
I enjoy peace and quiet, actually. That is one of my favorite forms of self-care because it gives me a sense and when you really think about all that you have and all the things that you have to do that's required of you throughout the day, if you're an employee or if you're a friend, if you're a cousin, sister, wife, daughter, husband, uncle, those are a lot of titles that we have to fulfill. And when we're giving to our job or if we're giving to our family, if we're giving to so many different areas, a lot of times we really don't think about how much we're really giving to ourselves. So one of the things, because I do wear different hats, many different hats throughout the day, I like to be able to have my self-care activity as being something where I'm giving to myself. And that really, it starts sometimes with just peace and quiet, like no interruptions with the phone, no interruptions with TV, just a simple peace and quiet moment, just for me to breathe, really. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy.
Quiet time. That's, to me, I guess that's my thing too. Like, I like quiet. I think we had talked about this earlier today. So I got a steamer in the mail for my face, and I will listen to like neo soul jazz, or like, on YouTube they have like the fireplace playing with the jazz.
Yeah.
I put it on and steam my face, and it's quiet. And when it's over, I feel so relaxed. Like, I feel calm. I do it in the morning and at night. It helps me, calm down at night because my mind runs so much. And it takes me longer to go to sleep because I'm always thinking about things I need to do or creating. So it's a way for me to calm my mind to help me, start the evening to go to sleep at night.
Yeah. I think what you just said makes perfect sense as it relates to self-care activities, because a lot of times when we are trying to do an activity, like you just said, we'll be trying to think of the next idea for our brand or think of the next thing we can cook for dinner. And then once you know it, you're doing this activity and your brain isn't really even focused on the activity. You're thinking about everything else. So it's so important to silence all those thoughts. And this doesn't come just the next day you're going to wake up and be like, oh, I'm controlling my thoughts. It really is something that you have to work on. Silencing your thoughts, knowing that this 20 minutes or this 30 minutes that I'm giving myself is not for any other distraction. It's for me to steam my face, or it's for me to sit and, take deep breaths, or it's for me to meditate, or it may be for me to write some of my goals down. Just whatever that case may be, making sure that you are giving your full attention to whatever that activity is, so it can really have the true effect that self-care really can have if you're all in.
Yeah, that's a good point. And when you were talking, I also thought about Alicia when you were saying how you love your quiet time, your downtime, because you wear so many hats. A lot of us do. So, like with the phone, when you do that, like the Apple Watch or whatever, because I know some people they're like, okay, I'm gonna have my me time, and they can get an alert, and then they're grabbing their phone, or I need to check my Instagram. So, can you kind of touch on in this plan controlling your social media or your smart device usage and not allowing it to control you?
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm Team Apple. So for all those
Me
team,
too.
okay, so
Follow
I
her on
don't know what
Clubhouse.
Android
Alicia's
got
on
going on.
Clubhouse, so follow her on Clubhouse.
Yeah, so I'm Team Apple, and I don't know if Android. And the reason I said that is because I don't know if Android has this function. But the thing that I love about my Apple Watch, my iPhone, just all of the devices that I have personally connected to me, they have this beautiful button that says "Do Not Disturb."
Yes.
And anytime I don't want to be disturbed, I put on that button and it's a do not disturb. And I don't know, I know a lot of us are in a lot of group messages, and I know a lot of us have like a lot of different groups that we tend to, whether it be the group me or just personal messages that you're in a group with on your phone. I put those on do not disturb too, and not to ignore the information that's coming in, but it's just to limit the amount that's coming in at one time. Because
Yes.
sometimes it can be overwhelming when, again, you may have to do something for the speaker podcast, and then your boss is emailing you, and then a family member may be emailing you, and then a group of friends are you. And when you get all those notifications at once, naturally,
It's too much.
yeah, and we just want to respond and think and
Yeah.
just like try to respond immediately. And sometimes we just need to take a break, breathe, and when you feel overwhelmed, that do not disturb is my best friend. I'm like, no.
I started doing that in the last week or so, just because, like you said, between podcasting, work, school, because I would say November was rough. November was very trying. And December, because between all that plus school, it was just too much. And I just needed a break, And so I took some days where, like you said, do the group messaging, but I started setting limits and boundaries to where I'll check in maybe like in the morning and then maybe around lunchtime. Like I spread out those times because I needed some time just to gather my thoughts, and just it was, you have so much pulling on you at so many times at once. And when I started doing that and implementing that over the last few weeks, I felt myself calming down. My creativity increased. I was able to focus on other things I needed to do. And so I'm like, I like this feeling, of kind of getting some of that control back, because your device is always email or, like you said, the alert, the text, the call. It was just a lot. And between everything going on in my life in November, December, school, I just had to just like, you know what? I love you guys. I'm here for you, but I need some time for Cam. And I started kind of pulling that control back. And now I'm starting to experience a greater balance in some areas, because now I can schedule. Those that know me know I live out of my planner and just plan accordingly. And when you're able to implement that self-care, then everything else around you begins to kind of come into play. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. Like I know you asked about social media too.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really kind of helped me create more of a limit or a boundary with social media, again, this is Team Apple. I don't know what Android does.
Team Apple over here.
But in your settings it tells you about your screen time, and it gives you a list of what you spent your time on, whether it was your a book, or whether it was the Safari or social media. And when you start really, if you start looking at the amount of hours that you give to each of those different applications every day, sometimes it may surprise you, because it may be
like, was I really on Instagram for 2 hours? Like, or TikTok? It's a lot.
It is. It can be. And so when you can kind of take and look at that, and then you're like, is this how I want to spend my time? We were talking about self-investment earlier for all the plans and things that we have for 2021. When you think about how you're spending your day and how you're spending your time, some of that stuff doesn't deserve that much attention. Instagram may not deserve all 2 hours of your day. You could be doing something else. Facebook, it's so funny. My husband talks to me about that sometimes. He's like, you scrolling, but what could you be doing right now? And it's really, and that's the reality. It makes that, it's funny, but in reality, and I'm not saying it's so funny, but I'm like, you know what, you're right. Like, there is something else I probably could be doing right now. So just, I love the screen, looking at my screen time to see exactly where my time is going.
Very, very true. And we've got some people that join us, so I do want to welcome those just coming in. If you are just tuning in, my name is Camille Essick. I'm the host of the Speaker Podcast, and here we have friend of the show, sister and friend Alesia Jones. She's the founder and creator of Mind Your Health in Nashville, Tennessee. And we want to welcome Vidette Putman. Samantha is here. Winnie is here. Thank you, Winnie, for joining us. Mark Coley, founder of the Mark Coley Business Academy, is here, and Whitney Victoria. Thank you so much. Samantha said she said she's going to hold Whitney accountable. Whitney made a comment saying she needs to do better about the self-care. So Whitney, we're going to definitely stay on you about that. Self-care is so important.
Yes, and it's so beautiful that I guess they're friends, but holding each other accountable, because that is one thing that, because we can tell ourselves something all day, and we may, we also can make excuses for ourselves all day. And so when you have the extra form of accountability, it's something that cannot make you feel bad for not doing something that you said you wanted to do, but it really can just remind you and encourage you, like, okay, I did say this. Like, let me not only hold myself accountable. When your loved ones hold you accountable, I feel like that's a whole nother level of support. So kudos to y'all for being able to establish that.
Yes, yes. He said the Mark Coley Business Academy is here. It's a party. Yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in so much. So Alesia, also we're talking about the self-care plan and the self-investment for 2021, but we know at the stroke of midnight our problems don't just magically go away, and COVID is still here. People are still, like, we're still working from home, we're still doing school from home. So how do you move forward in the new year, but we're still dealing with the hurdles and issues of 2020 and just knowing what to leave behind? Like, yeah, okay, we're like, oh, it was last year, but last year was only a couple of days ago, but we're still dealing with the real issues of today. So how do we do that, go forward and still dealing with last year?
I love just, and I think I said this the last time I was on the show, but taking self inventory, it's a real thing. And when I say that self inventory, it's just taking account for your feelings, taking account for how a situation caused you to feel, and just being one with yourself and also your feelings. And when you're able to take that self inventory, it can help you create a different plan for how you want your behaviors to be. Because we know, like, although we, love certain things, just as humans, like the way that our behaviors kind of flow, it's connected to our thoughts, it's connected to our feelings, and then there comes our actions. So once we're able to be aware of what our thought is, what that feeling connected to that thought is, and then what our actions are doing, sometimes that can help us create a different path for ourselves. So if I didn't like a certain feeling, or if I didn't like a certain thought, or if I didn't like a certain action that I had in 2020, or that I had just a day ago, then you get to take that inventory and say, okay, this is what that thought was. How can I do better at controlling that thought? And this is not an easy activity. So I will say, as a mental health specialist, if you need help or support in creating your different activities or the ways that you can handle certain situations better, whether it be trauma or letting go of the past, old relationships, a job, or just creating a new step in your life, then always reach out to a therapist. That can be the therapy is for that too. It's not just because you have like a traumatizing event. Sometimes it can be just helping you prioritize the things that's happening in your life at this moment.
And that's something you and I discuss here all the time, as far as breaking down that taboo of a therapist, because it's not because you're crazy or, like you said, having trauma. Sometimes you just need another voice or someone to show you another perspective, looking at a situation, or maybe you're not looking at it properly. I feel like sometimes we don't have enough information, and once we get more information, we're able to gauge a situation and make other decisions or change a character, a behavior. So can you kind of touch on that, Alesia, as far as this? I know this is an ongoing conversation, but just breaking down that taboo of the importance of dealing with your mental health specialist, as far as when you're making, excuse me, these plans with yourself, investing in yourself.
So how a mental health specialist can support those plans?
Right.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different ways mental health specialists can support those plans. I always like to encourage people to know that mental health specialists have gone through years of school and they also in training. And so one of the major things and the major topics of training is meeting someone that you're counseling where they are. So when you come to counseling, it's not the counselor that is doing all the talking, or it's not the counselor that is just telling you how to live or anything like that. It's really just a safe space for you to say, hey, I'm the expert on my life. This is my perspective of what's going on. And then you're able to share that, and the counselor can give professional support or feedback, or even apply certain treatment mechanisms to help you not only just establish a life of peace, but get into the habit and daily routines of living that on a regular basis.
So it's like a team effort.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're all in this together.
And so going through that process of moving forward, but still dealing with 2021 and creating the self-care plan and those sub plans as far as how to invest in yourself on a daily basis, what do you feel like are some of the takeaways or the nuggets or lessons we got from last year that can help us do better and be better versions of ourselves in 2021?
Yeah, I think last year was a whirlwind for a lot of us, I could say that. And we were all adjusting to what the stay at home order meant. We were all adjusting to what it felt like to not be able to do the normal things, like go to the grocery store without a mask or go to the mall when you wanted to. And so now that we've, I think, given ourselves a bit of time to just be like, okay, this is our new normal, this is our new reality, we can now kind of move forward with a different perspective. And that one perspective that I love to say, it's like, let your thoughts, let that change into what you actually want your reality to be. So I know last year we probably spent a lot of time like just adjusting. Now that we've been in this situation since March, or really over a year, if you want to say from December.
Like, it's gone by so fast.
Yeah, it really has. And now we can use this as a time to really just kind of, you're staying at home. Okay, let's really think about what we want our future to look like, or let's really think about those goals that we had a while ago that we never really finished or completed. And I know for me, one of my favorite things, well, as far as scriptures go, one of my favorite scriptures when we're thinking about like goals and plans and just how we can move forward is commit your work to the Lord and your plans will succeed. So just kind of going off that scripture and, you know, write the vision and make it plain, all of that. There's so many different ideas that I think God, or that we can kind of have on a regular basis. And when we start committing those to the Lord, or when we start really focusing those things and writing those plans out and getting more specific and details with what we want to accomplish, it can create something that's more beneficial. It can create us, it can cause us to have a different routine. It can cause us to think about a different activity that we could be doing instead of scrolling on social media. So it really can motivate you in different ways.
I love that. And I think also too, the fact that you brought the scripture, because again, this is something we discussed, before, as far as church, mental health and therapy, and how that's still a taboo area, particularly within the Black church arena. And even the Bible talks about, in the safety and counsel and prayer and meditation. So these things work together. So I feel like to me, it's not separate. It's like salt and pepper. They complement each other. So I think some people feel like, oh, well, just pray about it. But, the Bible says, yes, you can pray, but it also says to also seek wise counsel. And we have mental health counselors and mental health specialists. I feel like those individuals, such as yourselves, it's an extension of ministry. It may not be in the pulpit, but to me, it's still a form of ministry. We go to the doctor for everything else, our bodies, we take our cars in from a mechanic, oil change, tire change. You go to the dentist when there's a problem there. If there's something wrong with your plumbing, you call the plumber. And we go to everyone, issues with your bank account, you call your accountant. So if you go to all these other people for those things, why can't you go to a therapist or mental health specialist to keep your mind, just for a checkup, just like getting your tires rotated. So if you can do that for your car, why can't we not take that same effort and energy to invest in ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Self-investment 2021, this new milestone, just focusing more on self and more on what your body needs. Because if we really think about, as we go to bed at night or as we kind of silence ourselves, there's going to be some things that come up where you're like, okay, yeah, I want to do this, or, oh, I think I should do this, or I can do this differently. And don't ignore it. Those thoughts are coming for a reason. Just continue to be aware of what those thoughts are and then put an action step to it.
Yes, I love it. I definitely want to, I'm going to bring you back in the year just because there's so many conversations that need to be had. If those are just, becoming familiar with you, this is Alesia Jones. She is the founder and creator of Mind Your Health in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is like her third or fourth appearance on the show. And every time Alesia comes, she's bringing a greater perspective, greater insight as far as self-care, self-investment, your mental health, your wellness, your total being, because I think we're so on the go all the time, particularly if you're an entrepreneur or creative, or even if you're a business professional or stay-at-home mom, and we're always just putting out, pouring out. But what are we doing to pour back into ourselves? So I bring Alesia on just because, one, I love her perspective, because she couples Christian principles as well as the mental health aspect and joins them together. And just she's just a great and awesome person. So she's a perfect fit for the show. She will be definitely in house going forward, just because I just love what she brings to the show, and she also just is very knowledgeable in her field. So get familiar with you guys, because you'll see a lot of her more often. Okay.
Well, I appreciate all your kind words. And like I tell you, this platform is necessary. Sharing information, and just even with all the other guests that you have on, just giving people an opportunity to speak the things that they've experienced, and just the way that they can also share and help someone else. So I appreciate you too.
No problem. Thank you. So, do you have any up and coming projects with your brand that we can look for in the coming year?
Of course, if you like to get a bit of motivation throughout your week for about mental health or stress or coping skills, anything like that, please feel free to follow my Instagram page, Mind Your Health _, and then or also Facebook, Mind Your Health, because there I'm also providing information, hopefully educating, and then also giving just people different ideas about mental health and what ways that they can get through this. Because I say all the time, you're not your diagnosis. You are not what you've gone through. You're an individual that has a lot of different components. And when you address those components, you're able to be your full self. So that is, if you'd like to follow those pages. And of course, as I said at the beginning of the show, if you're looking to get connected to a counselor or a therapist, please contact me. And then my goal is to help support you by giving you a list of therapists that can hopefully benefit you wherever you are in your life.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you just for your energy. Just a very gracious person. I've known you forever, and you've just grown to a beautiful young lady. I'm so glad I've been able to see a part of that journey. And for those that would like to connect with Alesia, you can also follow her on Instagram at Mind Your Health is _ correct?
Mm-hmm.
And here on Facebook as well. So I hope everyone got something from this episode. If you're watching or listening, thank you so much as we kicked off season 7 of the Speaker Podcast. Again, Happy New Year and welcome to the show for those that are just tuning in for the very first time. My name is Camille Etzik, and until next time, be blessed. You guys have a great evening. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Did it cut off?